also print signs, stickers, shirts, and more. If you need it, we print it. Print it all. 20% off for new customers at visitprint.com.
Okay, thanks for tuning in. One thing I'm going to try to do is be quieter. I've been posting, well, I clip farmed my last stream. I thought there was some funny shit, but I really haven't gotten, well, at least the clips I posted, I don't know. The thing about the clip farming is it's very hit or miss. It's like, not that it ever hits that big. It doesn't hit that big, but like on a good post, I'll get 22 likes, 24 likes. And, you know, maybe 1,000 views. Some of the posts get 1,500. Like the post, the other day I posted my smasher pass thing from the open mic. It got 0 likes, but it did get 1,500 views. Not that that's a lot in this day and age, but for me it's a lot. So what the hell? Why not? Like I said last time, it's quantity, not quality. And why not just barrage the people with mediocre kind of micro content as a micro influencer? There was some other micro thing I was thinking about recently. Ooh, let me get my... But I was watching the, you know, so I'm clipping, so I'm like watching my live streams from before, which, you know, is not really a super comfortable experience. It's sort of like that thing, hearing your voice on tape. You're just like, oh my God, do I really sound like that? That's how I feel about my live streams, like, Jesus Christ. And it's hard, I mean, but I think as, especially somebody who's like a performer or whatever, I mean, this is the thing people have always criticized me, is my vocal, I scream, right? I'm loud. And so, like, when I clip these open mic clips, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I am pretty fucking loud. I'm screaming, like I'm screaming. My mouth is on the fucking microphone. Like, there's a reason why people are... And that, you know, the thing is, that's not necessarily like a criticism. It's something that could be fixed, right? Like, I could just be quieter. Or, but it's like, I don't know, it's weird because, you know, the energy is such a huge part of it. And I feel like I have to be big to get like the energy out. Is that just a lie? Is that a theater thing? I don't know. I feel like in person, I feel this urge to like blow things up, have big gestures, try to project to the back of the room. I try to emphasize whatever kind of energy is within through some kind of like physical embodiment, physical gesture. And so a lot of times it can, I don't know if that's real, if that actually, it's something that maybe live people go, oh, and it's like affecting, but on tape it just looks, it doesn't translate, right? It's sort of like for film, this thing you have to like just do nothing. Like, you don't have to do anything. You have to shrink everything. You know, like if you're on camera, your on-camera technique, a small gesture, the camera picks it up and it can mean a lot. Whereas like on stage, that would get totally lost, maybe. To the people in the back row, they can't. So, I don't know. I don't know if I shrunk it down a lot live, if people would like that more, actually. If I was quieter on the microphone, if I was more because you know my voice when I have like a quiet kind of normal, when I'm not high, maybe when I have like a normal kind of, when I'm not excited, I guess I get excited and start screaming and so it's something I've been thinking about recently, just like as a performer. How do I do better? Why don't the audiences like me? How do I get the audience to like me more? What am I doing wrong? And you know, my energy is way up here. So I'm looking at my performances more. You know, like my voice does shoot up into this like kind of screaming, and you know, and part of that was intentional. Like, you know, my model for the apex of performance is like soul shout screaming, you know, like Wilson Pickett or Mitch Ryder. Uh, it's not, I'm not loud, I'm just adding distortion to my voice. I'm adding overdrive. You know, I come from rock and roll world, and so everything is louder. I mean, maybe it's also just like, you know, I'm not trained, my voice doesn't really sit right. But everything now is ASMR and vocal fry and kind of quiet. You know, people want like a quiet, chill. I come out of rock and roll, really. That's really like the context of a lot of like my performance is like that boomer kind of rock and roll Midwest. You know, I'm from Columbus, but like the music out there is like Seeger, the Stooges, you know, Detroit. It's loud. There's a lot of space. You can be loud out there. It's heavy. It's macho kind of, and you know, New York. It's just like everybody's close together, and just generationally, I think people just don't like loud anymore. People want chill. We're so overstimulated. I don't know why. It's just like we want, but I do feel like my frequency is like way up here and everybody else is like down here. As far as just like activity level. You know, I'm like super like spazzy, and your average, and you know, I'm trying to figure out how to hold the audience's attention and remain engaging while being quiet or being softer. Part of it is just like you're trying to overcome your nervousness, and so just go fast, go loud, go hard. Part of it is I smoke weed, obviously, and so I do have kind of like a weird, frenetic, frenzied kind of anxiety, neurotic, kind of driven by that, frazzled, like self-consciousness. But that self-consciousness provides material, it provides kind of a pinch that kind of keeps you moving forward, keeps you creating. And one of my heroes, right, is Kevin Meaney, a comedian who is kind of like this theatrical, dramatic, kind of like Queen almost. So maybe, you know, I've been trying to kind of push this like lounge singer character on stage. I wanted to really like bring this downtown, you know, bearer of the American songbook or the party, trying to keep the party alive with fun music, music that tells a story, New York music, music that kind of conceptualizes a more enjoyable world, but it's also all old. Curate the party, curate the vibe, playlist, DJ. You know, I play a lot of 60s music, garage music, doo wah diddy, diddy dum diddy doo. That song, Parties in the USA, Jonathan Richman, kind of says it all. What happened to the parties in the USA? And so I'm just trying to kind of like put that vibe out there, put a more kind of innocent, convivial, community party vibe where people can make friends, meet their neighbor, whatever. I don't, that's just not the vibe now, especially among cool people. I mean, cool people are super demure. They're super indifferent, especially in New York. It's like an indifference contest. Everywhere he wears these big black leather fucking coats, and it's just kind of boring. I'm just sick of being around rich kids that are pretending to have fun and trying to intimidate you with like their indifference, and they all just have a lot of. It's just a completely different fucking perspective. They can throw money around. Their parents pay their rent. I had an interesting conversation with Matthew Silver after the clown show. People were surprisingly complimentary because I really felt like I just like shut down. That was probably one of the worst performances I've ever done, to be honest. I don't know what happened. I took an edible, and the thing about these edibles is they're almost like beta blockers. We were talking about beta blockers. Some people take beta blockers because they like quell your anxiety. Like I guess for like social anxiety or stage fright. People will take like a beta. I don't even know what the fuck it is. I don't know what a beta blocker is, but a weed gummy is sort of like my beta blocker, where it's like it kind of just like it takes my social anxiety away, where I can just sort of be calm. Whereas like typically I smoke weed and it just like it actually makes you more nervous. It makes you more stressed. It increases your anxiety, but with that you also kind of get an increase of ecstasy. It's the ecstasy and the anxiety. And so I don't know what happened on Sunday, but I just kind of like, I just shut down. It was weird because it wasn't, there actually was like kind of an interesting emotional thing happening during the performance. There was like kind of a heaviness to it that I really didn't expect at all. And see, I feel like I have to throw my voice to this phone, and I'm probably being super loud. If I was like, I'll try to do more ASMR. I'm gonna try to be more ASMR for everybody out there. I'm gonna try to have more vocal fry for everybody. This is vocal fry time. So yeah, Sunday. It actually kind of it was more like a dramatic monologue than like a clown piece. I just felt, I come from theater world, and I spent a lot of time when I was younger writing speeches for characters, thinking about, how to be an actor, how to like feel the fucking character or whatever. And that's kind of what I reverted to on Sunday, I feel like. It became like this improvised, kind of sad, which happened to me once in an improv class. I remember one time in my UCB 300 class, I did some kind of weird scene about like a horse, and it was like more like dramatic. It wasn't really like improv comedy. And that's what I flashed back to on Sunday. As I was on stage, at one point I like dropped to my knees and I closed my eyes. And I just felt like, oh my God, I'm trapped in this. And this is like in that improv class when I was doing that really serious monologue that was like so cringe and um, it was embarrassing. I hate to admit it, but I don't know if I'm good at improv, or at least like not in front of people. Like I'm just not a good. I'm actually like this is something I've noticed in conversation. Is a lot of times I'm like in my own head. The other person will be talking when they're done. I'll sort of have heard what they said, but I'll have to kind of be like, wait a minute, what did you just say? And then listen to it. And, it kind of. I'm kind of slow to react. It takes me a lot of time actually to like get something right. I'm not the At least it doesn't feel that way. I don't feel like the fastest reaction kind of player or something. I need to kind of script it, or with acting, it's like you're going through it in your head exactly what you're going to do. There's a plan, and so you can kind of just premeditate the whole performance in a way and just plan out exactly what you're going to do. I mean, you are supposed to react against what the other actors are doing, but like you can get away with just like doing a totally fake, indicating performance, and people might even like that better. Um, Whereas like improv, it's like you got to be listening to what the other person is. The audience is hearing everything. The audience is seeing everything. I'm kind of too in my own head. I need, at least, I don't know. That's my, every comedy set or whatever, before I go out, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I'm going to do this, or what am I going to do? And then, or, you have all these great ideas about what you're going to do. And then when you get out in front of the audience, you just forget everything. Like that's kind of what happened on Sunday. I had a few different ideas. They were all pretty dumb, I guess. But I was just like, my idea was I'm going to do the whole Super Bowl set halftime show by myself. And that'll be sort of like a frame within I can do different characters just spontaneously. Like I had a bit that I wanted to do DDP yoga, Diamond Dallas Page yoga. But then I also wanted to do Hugh Jackman doing Broadway like show tunes. But then I had a bit where I wanted to kind of cycle through these different ideas that I had. I wanted to do a wrestling match by myself. But then you get out there and you're just like, I totally forgot every fucking thing I was going to do. Or like, I don't know how to sell it to the audience. I don't really even know what clown is, to be honest. These other performers are so wonderful, and they really play with the audience. They have sound cues. They have these amazing costumes. Me, it's just like, I haven't really performed in clown context that much. It's like I'll do a stand-up comedy open mic or a poetry open mic or the Monday thing, which is sort of clowning, but like, I don't go to clown classes. I didn't go to clown college. And I don't perform on clown shows ever, hardly. But it's something I'm curious about. But I'm also like, I don't want to come in super at odds with, I don't know. I guess I'm doing my own version of that, but these other clowns are able to get up on stage and just kind of be with the audience and throw the ball back and forth with the audience in a way that, like, to be honest, I'm really afraid of the audience, I guess. Like, it puts me in such a nervous place to be performing in front of 40 people that I don't know, or I don't know who they are. And especially when everybody else on the show is doing good, you're like, oh, fuck, what if I go out and I bomb? I bring the show to a fucking halt. And, luckily these clown audiences are pretty nice. That's part of it. They're very supportive. But, I didn't really know how much I should prepare. I talked to some of the other clowns on the phone the day before, and they were like, just do what you do. You don't need a character. You don't need, just do what you do at the open mic. You're already doing it. And so I thought, okay, well, I don't need an idea then. I'll just go on stage and it'll just happen. And it did. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, people were pretty complimentary to me after, in a way that's not always the case, to be honest. And I just thought, good God, I just really bombed. I thought I just shut down. Because what happened was I got locked into the Diamond Dallas Page character. I don't know. I just thought the DDP yoga thing was funny. I didn't flesh it out. I just thought I'll go out there, I'll riff, I'll be in this character. Nobody will know what the hell it is. Except maybe some wrestling fans. A guy did come up to me afterwards and was talking about how he appreciated all the obscure references to the wrestlers from the 80s or whatever. I don't know what the hell happened. Even the riffing. So I just got locked into this weird monologue about, and I couldn't think of anything specific. And then I got self-conscious about that, so I kind of tripped up on my the things that I did come up with. As a performer, these are my weaknesses. My voice, I scream. And the other thing is, in college, one time I did this play, and it was like a theater kind of jutting out stage. There was risers on three sides with the audience. And my director, professor from undergrad, after the play was like, great job, blah, blah, blah. But you've got a really bad habit that you either look under the audience or over the audience. You never look at the audience. And so you're always looking at the ground and it's true. I mean, that's the thing about the Monday open mic. And this is something people comment on a lot, is the lights are right in your face. There are these bright stage lights that blind you. And so it's easy for me to look out on Monday because you can't see anybody. And also I'm just comfortable there. It's like I've done it so many times that I'm totally comfortable being in front of 60 people in that room. Because I know a lot of them, and I'm not really there to kill or whatever. Even the open mic is another way of kind of avoiding confrontation with the audience. Because it's I'm sort of, I'm up and down, but I'm not really performing. I'm just sort of platforming other people. And then even at the beginning of the open mic, when I do perform, it's not a lot of people are there always. And I sort of look at it well, I kind of have to be sloppy because I want the performers to feel like they can make mistakes. I want to set a vibe where it's it's okay to be silly, and I just want to make the performers as comfortable as possible. And so it's not necessarily about, I don't want to upstage anybody. And a lot of times I don't plan what I'm going to do at all. It's I'll have a shred of an idea when I go up. This week, it was I'm going to do Love Boat theme song. And then I'll do some smash or pass. And I was up there for, I think, 6 minutes. Considering the show is 6 hours long. I do less than 10 minutes at the beginning. And it's usually very hastily thought through. And then I might not perform for the rest of the week, to be honest. I don't hit open mics every fucking day. Maybe I'll go to one other one for the rest of the week. And so it's something that I need to work on, is how do I look out at the audience? And my friend was saying, he's like, well, it's because you smoke weed. He said a lot of people who smoke weed, it's like they can't make eye contact. And my eyes are all fucked up. I mean, I got this, you know, I was watching my last live stream. It's like my eyes are just, they've damaged. And it's, you know, maybe it's a circulatory thing from smoking too much weed or something. I don't know. But on Sunday, I went down to my knees and I closed my eyes, and like, it's sort of what I did when I play music. Usually when I play music, it's like I close my eyes and I put my mouth on the microphone. That's just like, it anchors me, and it's a coping mechanism. It's like going into the fetal position. I felt like I went into the fetal position on Sunday. But I got through it, and like I said, it went to an interesting place. It actually, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just so fucking depressed recently that's just what came out, but like, it went to like kind of a dark, sad place. But in a way that was like, it was actually kind of full of juice. I started talking about, I don't even remember what I said. I can't even watch it because it's like, it was so bad. In my head, it was so bad. It was like, I couldn't think of any references. I couldn't think of any fucking moves. It was just like I was blanking. And my intention was to jump around and do a lot of different things. Not just like get locked into this one character. The Diamond Dallas. And I wasn't even Diamond Dallas Page. I was just sort of a generic redneck wrestler voice. But I'm like, I'm on my knees, my eyes are closed, and I'm like just monologuing about how all the wrestlers are dead and Epstein, and we live in a world of pain and suffering. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I said. But I was panicked. I mean, I was feeling like, how do I get out of this? I'm just like, I'm trapped. I'm locked into this character. I can't open my eyes. There wasn't that many people there. I mean, there was probably, 15 or 20 people. But I had a funny outfit. I was wearing the bunny ears. And my friend Gwen gave me this incredible racing fucking... I mean, she did a great job. It was a great show. You know, the decoration, she did an incredible job with all the cohesive kind of aesthetic of it. And it was just there was live music that was super magical. But I'm kind of the odd man out in the clown community, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I smoke weed before I go on stage. I took an edible. And I just shut down on stage. I went into the fetal position. I got through it. She kind of pulled me off stage. I don't feel like I was up there that long. I was probably only on stage for 5 minutes before they kind of threw me a life preserver. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to go toe-to-toe with the audience. I usually try to avoid it. That's why I'm 41 years old and like live streaming to one person. God bless you. And even when I go to open, like, look at the Grizzly Pear, the comedy open mic. It's like I go to a comedy open mic and there's like maybe 6 people there. You know, like it's hard for me to force myself in front of an audience. I'm not necessarily always afraid of the audience. You know, reading poetry is no big deal. You got paper, all you got to do is go up and read it. But like, you know, I went up with no script. I just thought, like always, I'll wing it. And I'll just smoke a bunch of weed before the show and wing it, and it'll be fantastic. Like it is in my head. You know, before the thing, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll say this, I'll say this. I needed kind of a big set piece or some kind of topical, but I don't know. It's when I'm doing the open mic on Monday, I don't, you know, I can go a little bit wild, but I can't go that wild. I have to run the show. I have to be an adult because if I really go nuts, the whole thing could come apart, you know. I've got a lot of responsibilities. And also, like, I can't break shit, you know, like, I can't do anything that's going to, you know, screw up my relationship with, you know, my employers or the venue or whatever. And so I have to be responsible. That's me being like kind of a mature to you know, but also being a party guy. I am over the top. I am theatrical. I'm a little gay seeming because I want people to let their hair down and you know the vibes of these other poetry open mics are incredibly solid. Well, I mean they're affecting. You know, if you go to Bowery Poetry or you go to New Eurekan, it's like it's not a joke to these people. It's a time for them to like share their truth and like expose their wounds and like be righteous and the audience really is fired up about it. That's kind of the point. I do feel like I kind of undermine the poetry with silliness and with goofiness. I didn't realize how goofy I come across. I come across like really goofy. And I want to kind of try to chill out on that somehow. My last few years, I don't know, doing stand-up comedy or something has kind of like inflated my goofiness. When I was more in poetry world, I don't know, poetry creates more of like a strangeness, a somberness, an you know, eccentricity, a queerness. I've been sort of out of poetry world a little bit for the last couple of years that now when I sort of look at it, I'm like, oh, this is kind of, I don't know. It just became so, the poetry world is just so lockstep politically that it's almost like predictable. And I just don't really know that that's, like, it's important to write poems about everything that's going on, absolutely. And people should do that. But it's like, now when you go to it, it's like, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody is saying the same fucking thing about the same thing. And it's like, they're just preaching to each other. You know, the poetry world is so insular. And it's serious people. And it's highly cultivated people. But they are kind of arrogant. Part of it is having like a big sense of yourself and, you know, being a celebrity in the poetry world and feeling like self-important about reading your thoughts or your, I mean, what could be more fucking pretentious and kind of, you know, ego flattering than like, oh, I'm a fucking poet. People love to listen to my poetry that I write. I guess I've kind of renounced like the ego of that. I don't, you know, part of what I like or, you know, what I was naive or something about poetry was like, I don't know, it was a little more of a, it didn't have those kind of fickle, finicky hierarchies, judgmentalness, cliquishness. It's just like everything. It's like this thing, everybody's 12 years old. Poetry is another high school. Everything's just a high school. There's cool kids, and there's kids who are nerds. Or losers, or I don't know. Everybody's got an opinion about what you are, and you sort of fit into some plateau, some some in group, out group. It's like you're not in the fucking most desirable. You didn't go to Iowa. You're not in the most desirable circle. You're a fucking open mic. You're an open mic host, and you're goofy. And so I don't know. I don't like I think that I'm serious when somebody reads a poem. I think it's maybe a surprise to people. Like at this point, they probably don't know that like poetry is my core. As an open mic host, I don't know what people think. They just think I'm a host or a loud screaming musician or a bad comedian, a fucking creepy live streamer. Somebody likes the sound of their own voice. An impassioned spokesperson for the left, for the libtards. Maybe I'll adjust it. Give everybody a little bit of a different. Yeah, there you go. Cinema. Vocal fry. This is my vocal fry ASMR for everybody. Now I'm going to talk only in vocal fry voice. No more loud. The loudness. We're turning down the loudness, okay? No more loud. I'm working on quietness now, okay? For everybody. It's a new era. This is the quiet era. This is the ASMR era. Vocal fry. I mean, that's half the appeal of Red Scare. Is they're just like so blasé. That's just like yeah, they're almost like phone sex operators. I can't. I don't know that I can be anything other than like theatrical, and I guess I tried to embrace that side and kind of accentuate that. It's New York, so I want to kind of have these like big show tune kind of openers, like Billy Crystal at the Oscars or Martin Short on. I want to have these big production numbers. Steve Martin, SNL, opening monologue number. And I wish I was a better singer. I wish my voice actually was like, had drawing power for people. I wish I do the best that I can. I think I'm a good singer for considering how nasally my fucking voice is. I'm about as good a singer probably as I could be. Even though I understand my voice is pretty annoying. And like, not necessarily pleasing to the ear. I've got to figure out, when it comes to everything, reading poetry. I think that's half of like what the audience wants. They just want something that just sounds nice. And is like relaxing. I don't think they want to be like skull fucked with like aggressive mojo. It's like those days are gone. People don't really want Led Zeppelin. They want Tame Impala. They want tame. It's a tame Impala, okay? It's not a big rock, macho stadium. Fans are being crushed at the gig. It's like, it's a sound bath. I mean, partially the screaming was a reaction against Trump. When Trump got elected and wavetable and everything, it was like, yes, this is a screaming to get people to listen, to respond to the way how bad this is. We're in mourning. We're in warning. Somebody's got to scream. It's all we can do. But screaming is not really the best way to be heard. We've come to find. You know, and I guess in a certain way I use screaming and histrionics to overcome people losing interest. I don't have the ability to captivate people through just, you know, street smarts, outwitting them, being faster than them. My dad he always says this thing, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. I don't know where he heard that. I'm sure it's some kind of like showbiz adage. If you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit. And I try to dazzle. I try to dazzle people with brilliance. I think that's what I'm doing. But they're not really dazzled. You know, I was not a National Merit Scholar. You know, I didn't get a 1600 on my SATs. I didn't get a 35 on my ACTs. I think I probably just come to the conclusions that most like smart people come to, but maybe just a little bit sooner. I'm usually like 5 or so years ahead of everybody else. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It's a mystery to me why my stuff doesn't connect with the audience. It's always been a mystery to me. I really don't. I think the audience kind of wants slop. But they also appreciate really genius stuff like David Lynch and so you can't just use that as an excuse. It's like, why is this shit not connecting? Why does Baby Mozart, why is that not funny to people? I just posted this TikTok about the Cleveland Browns. It was from my last live stream. And it was pretty funny, I thought. It was pretty lowest common denominator. Maybe it was so lowest common denominator that everybody's already made that joke, but it literally got 0 likes. It's like, this was pretty fucking funny, I thought. I don't know. Just gotta work harder, work harder, work harder. I don't know. I don't get it. I genuinely, I don't know. It's frustrating, to say the least. And so these are partially the reason, you know, I'm right now I'm dissecting, you know, my faults and how I've compensated for them on stage. How, you know, you got to make it work somehow. I mean, do people love my karaoke lounge singer persona? Like, probably not. I'd like to do more plays. I'd like to get some original short plays into that big crane theater. You'd like to do everything. I'd like to do a movie. But I do this instead. Is this worth it? Is it worth doing this? I don't even know anymore. You know, the thing about this is, I've really been doing this for over 10 years, and it is a form for me that I like and find interesting and important to just sort of keep inventory and as a practice. But now it's like, it's kind of, I don't know. Everybody does this now. Everybody has a podcast with like microphones and shit and like a co-host. So this probably just looks like an incredibly lazy like podcast. It's unimpressive compared to like other people's clip farming. You know, this is so like bare bones. This is so like low effort. And it's like, who wants to listen to me talk for fucking 3 hours a week, 4 hours a week? Ashley calls it fawning over myself. When I am clip farming, Ashley's like, "Oh, he's fawning over himself again." And I'm like, maybe is that, I don't know. When I'm watching it, I'm like, this is funny or this is interesting. That's why I'm clipping it out. Maybe it doesn't, it's like, maybe it's a seed of something that could be like really fleshed out and written and fully realized. But, it usually has something that makes me laugh or is like spontaneously inventive and insightful, and that's why I post it, because I'm like, oh, this kind of says something that like I think is, offering some kind of wisdom, but like at a different angle. I'm not selling it the same way as it's not packaged the same way as every other kind of internet per snake oil yapper, mansplainer. Maybe I say and and like too much. Like, so I don't know. What is the fucking point of view? No one's listening anymore. Adam S., thank you for watching if you're out there, brother. The clip farming's not working. The live streaming it's saturated. I think the marketplace is saturated. But anyway, we'll persevere. This works as well as anything else. I'm a micro influencer, so whatever. What the hell was I just talking about? Oh yeah, why wouldn't people want to listen to me like nitpick my inner defects as a performer, and they have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. I don't know. I'm so nervous. I've always felt like Phineas J. Frog, that Warner Brothers Frog, where it's like he'll do "Hello My Baby, Hello My Honey" when no one's watching, but then you bring him out and you put him in front of the talent agent and nothing. And it's like, I feel like I'm capable of doing something really, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just high. It's like, is that, I think there's some truth to that. I do agree that like probably if I didn't smoke before I went on stage, because smoking, it does, like, you just don't even realize that you're in this other, it's like being really drunk or something. It's like you're being louder. This is why I'm like screaming and lisping on my live stream, because it's like I'm trying to get as high as possible. And you do come up with some funny shit. What's the balance? Maybe it's better to not perform high. Maybe it's my reading that I did in December. I wasn't high, and it went well. I think I didn't freak out the audience because I wasn't high. The thing is, if I hadn't have smoked before Sunday, I probably would have done better, actually. It's when you smoke, that was the reason why I collapsed on stage and closed my eyes and sort of like went to my happy place, because the weed does kind of like, I don't know, it just makes you nervous, it makes you sleepy, it makes you heavy. Maybe that's probably why I can't think of anything, because I'm high. It's like, cannot access any thoughts. But it's also like you want that extra, orgasmic kind of feel while you're performing. It's not enough to just go out and kill. It's like I want to be high while I'm killing, and the two to have like a synergistic kind of co-ignition, simultaneous liftoff. Oh yeah, I got to be high when I'm performing. All my heroes, were drug addict entertainers. That was part of it. That's why it was so good. So I don't know. I'm listening to this advice. I definitely think that I appreciated him saying that, because he's right. He was right. And even I felt that on stage. I felt like, fuck, I'm trapped in this. How do I get out of this? I'm bombing. I felt like I was just sinking. But it was weird because it kind of worked. Maybe it was the bunny costume. It was kind of interesting on stage because I was kind of just like writing a character on stage. I was filling out the sort of biographical history, but like I was just doing it in such a like, every choice I was making was a mistake. All the references, I couldn't think of anything. I was trying to think of the name of the Steiner driver. I couldn't fucking think of it. I couldn't think of shit. But it kind of went well, sort of. I mean, am I just a coward? I don't know. A lot of the ways that I comport my life. Am I ruled by fear? I suppose I am. It's a way of protecting yourself, protecting your ideas about yourself. I want to preserve my vision and my original ideas. Being in New York, where there's tons and tons of competition and audience and kind of simultaneous parallel creators, and we live in a competitive marketplace driven culture, and that includes the arts. It's super competitive about who's published where, who went to what school, who's got what job, who can afford what neighborhood, whatever it is. And so, a part of me is like, trust yourself. I trust my ideas. I execute them according to my own philosophy, poetics, abilities under the economic circumstances I'm in. Does it always like get a rousing fucking ovation from people? Like, not really. Sometimes it affects certain people. I get a lot of great feedback from people. So I know that it's reaching some people. I'd like to do better. Part of it is just like taking a look at yourself and being like, okay, I am being too loud. I am being really goofy on stage. What the fuck is that about? I could, let's try to access a different gear. Let's try to play in first gear or second gear rather than, or I don't, whatever. Let's rev lower at a higher gear rather than, right now I'm like in first gear. I'm like, nah! Let's go to fourth gear and be like, let's work on that. And so it's hard, it's hard because you're being judged by people. And like, New York is this community of literary types. And so these are people that read supposedly and have taken writing seriously supposedly their whole life. They come to New York because of that, because it is this destination for writers, for literary culture, publishing, poetry, obviously, the history here. There's tons and tons, and fucking Walt Whitman, for Christ's sake, Edgar Allan Poe. Not to mention everything that's happening now. It's an exciting, you know, landscape of activity, including all the little magazines and open mics and readings and things. And it's massive. I was just talking to this guy who does The Scene magazine. He puts out this magazine every month, and it's Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and now he started doing Manhattan. And so he covers all of the open mics, all of the fucking readings for that whole. There's just a huge infrastructure. There's a huge rhizome of literary culture, and it is local. It is kind of like transactional, or it's peer to peer. It's not necessarily some massive, pop culture like the fucking Super Bowl or something, but it's very alive, and it's like a coral reef. But you're also like, who do I trust? Whose opinion do I trust? I'm a snob, and while I can appreciate what a lot of people are doing, and even like their skill at it, there's a lot of people who are like, strong writers that it's just like, I don't really agree with their approach. And a lot of people get rewarded in poetry for being understandable, immediately affecting, preaching to the choir. It is kind of just about having a smart mouth, I guess, and some people are better than that than others. Some people, like Alex Dimitrov, is a success in the free market because he writes this stuff that's really sassy and kind of crackling and simple and short, and it's short lines, it's clear, it's cosmopolitan, it's witty, it's it writes about modern sexual dynamics in a way that's like gripping. But there's a lot of things that it's not doing. It's irresponsible politically in a lot of ways, and that includes the aesthetic. And the aesthetic is kind of simplified for anybody to read, and that's fine. It's, there's a lot of impact to what his writing has and does, but it's also commercial friendly because it's easy to fucking read and immediately relate to and get something out of. Not that there's anything wrong with that, per se. But, I don't know. I guess I'm interested in things that are a little more obscure. I was thinking about the other day, like, I just want to destroy poetry. The whole point of my poetry is like to destroy poetry. That's why I write the way that I do. That's why I publish the way that I publish. That's why I read the way that I read. Because I'm just trying to explode the genre, as they say. And I guess it's been done. But I don't know. Poetry especially now there's a lot of economic factors, and living in the city, those factors are kind of enhanced because most people are rich here. They're trust fund kids. They went to Bard with Epstein's fucking helicopter and shit. And so they're trained. They have, they've been going to writing workshops, and they've been around kind of highly aesthetic work and culture and upbringing their whole fucking life. And there isn't quite as much of a foothold for working class or kind of a poetics of poverty, which is part of what I liked about poetry, was that it was for poor people. There was no money in it. I liked that, actually. That's not really the trend in New York. In New York, over the last decade, it's all about getting rich. It's all about luxury. It's all about Ben Fama wearing a fucking Vogue hat and going to the sample sale and trying to get as much fucking money as you can, trying to win grants and get big prestigious professorial jobs and get rich. Just get fucking rich. Be rich. Be a winner. And it's like, part of what is nice about poetry is there's no money. It's not a big whoring, selling out thing. Like we've talked about this before, nobody gives a fuck about. Everybody just wants to sell out. Everybody is a fucking sellout. That's all we do all fucking day on social media. Sell out, sell out, sell out. Whore ourselves out. Try to brand ourselves. People are like voluntarily doing this now. Just behaving like businesses, like corporations. And I'm just allergic to all of that. I'm allergic to money. I'd like to get rich. That'd be awesome. I'd love to be fucking rich. I'm not trying to scare the money away. I'm ready for it. I thought I'd just clip farm and it'd start rolling in, but my talent seems to be allergic to money too. And so I don't know. I guess my life, in lieu of success, I'm using my life to just like spite any kind of perceived vanity among, I guess I misread poetry as being some kind of like religion or something, but or ethical. It's not. It's just another, forum. It's another arena for people's success stories and their dreams to take place, and to get their sense of their own narcissism fed. Like, look at me reading in front of all these people, and look, they are applauding for my poetry, and aren't I so great? It's like, I don't know. I just kind of detest all of that. That's why I have to do an open mic, because it's like I want to be in front of people, but I also like detest the idea of like subjugating them to my like greatness. It's all about my work. You're going to sit there and listen to my poetry. You're going to watch my fucking... It's like I generally do avenues where like people can access if they wanted to, like this. If you want to sit there and listen to me talk for 4 hours, you can. But it's like, I'm not necessarily comfortable with it. To me, that's just embarrassing, honestly, in a way, for people to like worship artists or like I'm gonna, I mean, it's nice to listen to people and consider what they have to say, but like, I don't know, there's something embarrassing about like being a fan or thinking that these people have some kind of wisdom. Or I mean, with poetry or with the arts, there is sort of like a pyramid scheme where it's like, oh, if I like this person and imitate this person, maybe I can be successful too. I can be like them. I can be in there. It's something that I'm smarter than everybody else because I read this thing, or I'm a fan of this thing. You're an idiot because you like this other thing. It's like, I don't know. That's not really real life. And from my personal experiences of meeting people that I admire, or like being around people that I admire, it's like they don't really deserve it. I think that's part of like the lie of art, is like art creates this frame that you're looking at the person through and you're like, wow, they're a god. Or aren't they, they're so, thank God for Neil Young or Leonard Cohen, or, whatever, these talented geniuses who are better than the rest of us. And, I think with the internet, with things like TikTok or YouTube or everything that's happening with social media, it's like there still are hierarchies, and there still is like a eugenics of like talent and hotness that is like probably even more like quantified and legible than ever. But it's also, best case scenario, it's allowing everybody to sort of get a little piece of that, a little piece of the action. You can get a little bit of gratification through whatever little audience you can muster. Like me, I've got 535 YouTube subscribers. That's not a whole lot of people, considering I've done thousands of fucking hours of this. And granted, it was very low effort. And this is another problem I have, is like low intensity, low reward. It's like no pain, no gain. If you don't challenge yourself, you don't. And so I don't really know how to, I've never been able to build muscles. I don't know how to like strength train. And that includes poetry or anything. Usually when something gets hard, I just stop. Or I try to find some other way around it. Like, even playing video games. Like as a kid, I really didn't like doing like puzzles, or like if there was some Zelda dungeon that was like too hard, it's just be like, fuck it, I'll just stop playing the game. Or I'll go onto gamefaqs.com and just read how to do it. Like I'm not going to waste like hours and hours of my life trying to figure it out. My brother Jack, on the other hand, is like way better at that stuff. That's why he's really technically good at the drums and, building arcade machines and shit. Me, it's just like I don't really have the due diligence to get into the nuts and bolts of shit a lot of the time. I'm more sloppy and lazy. I'm lazy. And so that goes with the audience too. It's like, well, fuck, how do I make this work for the audience? Oh, it doesn't work? Well, fuck them. They're wrong. My poem that I wrote in 15 seconds didn't knock them on their ass and make them think I'm a genius. Well, fuck them. They are wrong. I'm trying to destroy poetry, okay? And I think it's working. I don't know. Is this how you get better? To some degree, like the way you compensate for your weaknesses is your, like I am loud on stage, and that is part of the reason why the open mic works, because it's like these people need enthusiasm. If there's no enthusiasm, the open mic just dies. And what's the point of that? But it's also not a show. It's like if I was hosting an actual show, would people just find the enthusiasm annoying? I don't know. It's like I came up with this line the other day. Even I hate what I do. Okay, like I know I'm loud. I know I'm screaming. I don't know how to stop this thing. Okay, this crazy demon that's taken possession. I don't know how to stop smoking weed before I need that feeling. And I know that it's like makes everything worse. Like, I know that it makes it way harder to socialize with people. It makes me like way fucking weirder and more self-conscious and I'm on this endless conveyor belt of like buying rolling papers, buying, meeting the drug guy, coming back, rolling, like it's not good for your body, costs money. It's like having a fucking, it's like I don't know, it takes priority a lot of time. So I don't know. Do I need to stop smoking weed? Is that the secret to success? I owe everything I have to smoking weed. If I stop smoking weed, I would just lose what little I've learned to how to get ahead. Possibly, I don't know. It's something I will probably experiment with, sort of, going forward. What the hell else did I need to talk about? Let me go get my phone and see my bullet points of ideas and things. I don't know. I was talking shit about New York literary culture. What was the greater point I was trying to make about New York literary culture? I don't trust anybody's opinion because they're all like, there's just too much class discrepancy. Everybody like is so pampered here. They went to fucking Columbia or something, and it's like there's just a huge schism right now between the mainstream in this country and the lack of literacy, the loss of that whole interest in that. And then here there is like an enclave of, I mean, especially like, now there's all these celebrities and shit with book clubs. Kaya Gerber's got a book club, and Reese Witherspoon's got a book club, and everybody, Anthony Jeselnik is giving his fucking top. John Mulaney's giving his fucking top books of the year, and good for them. Like I get it. They're trying to promote literacy. They're trying to use their celebrity to like get people to read because reading matters, and otherwise, it's just brain rot. A lot of the smart people are getting flip phones because it's fashionable. Ashley got a flip phone, but it's also like I guess they want to focus. They want to preserve their concentration. They want to be able to write novels. They want to be able to write like these long prose works and stuff. My work has been more about embracing the distraction, embracing the new technologies, trying to incorporate them and imitate them in the process. My poetry is meant to be an embodiment of the fractured onslaught, the overwhelming avalanche of just data, opinion, point of view, stimulus, and good for the other writers trying to preserve the attention span and the coherence, but it's so married to like the snobby economics now that as a class warrior, that is like my war. My war is against the bourgeois, even if that means like preserving there is like a posturing and like a prim, they're trying to preserve this kind of dainty, like aristocratic almost feeling. Like the literary is sort of an accomplice of like this wealth inequality. Like, okay, fucking Kaya Gerber as a fucking book club. Like, she's a nepo baby. She's been rich her whole fucking life. She's smart. She's cool. Like, I'm glad she's doing that. Nothing against her, but it's like, do the fucking MAGA people in flyover country give a fuck? Like, no. They're watching wrestling or playing fucking Call of Duty or watching somebody play Call of Duty, probably. They're probably watching somebody play video games on the internet. And so it's kind of condescending and, in New York, it just feels like a lot of people are trying to furnish it's just another kind of way to feel luxurious and important. Like, oh yes, I'm doing this reading at this gallery or this fucking restaurant or this wine bar or whatever. And it's a bunch of women reading and like it's pluralistic. It's a bunch of marginalized voices. But they're like avant-garde marginalized. They all went to fucking private schools. They all went to like expensive, small, expensive colleges. And it's like, I don't know, maybe are they cognitively like smarter than me? Are they better readers than me? I'd like to think I did the best I could under the circumstances. I'm basically an autodidact in a lot of ways, even though I did get a degree in it. It was always sort of about like reading your own syllabus, making your own curriculum, going to half-price books, going to the library, and educating yourself, and then picking and choosing the books in school that you wanted to read. Depending on who the teacher was and what we were reading, I would participate in English class or whatever, but what I was reading was generally more interesting than what they were reading in the English class. So, like, did I, To Kill a Mockingbird, like, great. Did I really need to read To Kill a Mockingbird? It's more about, when they're teaching you To Kill a Mockingbird, they're teaching you something about, like, American integrity and national character. It's about racism in the South, and they're basically trying to lynch this guy, more or less, through this trial. But Atticus Finch, walk a mile in another man's shoes, It's all about everybody's equal. You have to look at, things from everybody's point of view and try to understand who they are. So, and that's a big reason why they're teaching it to us. They're trying to teach us that literature is this way of like encoding ethics, or not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just like, and it's a great book. But it's also like, Great Expectations probably would be a lot of fun to read. To Kill a Mockingbird would probably be a lot of fun to read if you weren't just like analyzing it to fucking death. Just doing it in school automatically makes it no fun. Like, I'd probably love to read Great Expectations, but like, am I going to read it with, in the English class? Like, fuck no. Am I going to do my homework and shit? Like, fuck no. I'm going to read it no. I'll read what I want to read, haiku poetry or whatever. And so, like a lot of this stuff, it's like you're trying to participate in this business that no longer exists, or like it exists in these weird kind of razor thin pockets of affluence where, like, yeah, if you do get some kind of prestigious teaching job or whatever, you can, like, sort of have, like, this posh, materialistic, like, young, white collar life. But, like, those people don't own poetry and they act like they fucking do. The academics, people with institutional jobs, even people who own fucking bookstores, they act like they own poetry, like that's where it exists. And it's like, it's bigger than that. That's a small, small fraction of what it's actually about. And, like, the fact of the matter is, like, it's hard to learn how to read. It's software that, like, they installed in us because they needed it for the way society was. Materially, that was the best way to, like, get information to people. Newspapers, books. You know, like, people needed to know how to read to, like, be employable in office culture or whatever in the cities. And that's just not really the case anymore. You know, it's like everything's a fucking short form video or you know, it's everything's on a fucking screen. And so it takes a lot of hard work actually to learn how to fucking read. And I suppose it does help you. It's like mental gymnastics, I guess. It probably does, like, strengthen your fucking muscle or something. Like, I used to say this thing about reading keeps me thin. Because supposedly, you know, when you're reading, your brain uses so much energy that you're actually burning calories. And if you're just watching fucking TikTok videos all day, not really the same effect. It's not like working out. And we might be losing that as a species, to be honest. These people are, I don't know, they're kind of just like fighting against the inevitable. You know, people didn't know how to read for millions of years. Animals don't know how to read. I just, you know, I love reading and I love books, obviously, but it's been such a huge part of my life. But it's also like, it's sad to me that they've become expensive and sort of like another kind of like status symbol. And they're kind of antisocial, to be honest. I do think there's some truth to the idea that, like, reading is kind of like an unsustainable or isolating. Like, it takes a long time to read a novel. You got to do it alone. You need peace, quiet. You know, there's a lot of economic factors into reading and writing that have changed the way that I read and write. Uh, you know, having a desk, having an office, having time, space, isolation to sustain focus, to sustain consciousness long enough to, like, write a novel or even read one. It's like, it's not easy to come by. We're assailed financially in so heavily now that writing a novel just feels like incredibly selfish, or it's just like a risk that it would be hard to justify taking, unless you just want to do it for your own, just to do it. Like, I think that's great if you want to write a novel, and you should write novels, but Well, okay, this is something that's been in the news recently, right? Is the death of the mass market paperback. This is especially sad for me because I mean, to me, those were the ultimate books, and they were the model for what the way I published my books because they are working class, for lack of a better word. They were a democratization of literature. These mass market pocket sized paperbacks. I guess they're phasing them out of production. I don't know if that includes self publishing because I'd love to still be able to publish these books because it's my favorite format, honestly. I think it's the best, it completely shaped my style of writing. I wanted a process that was on the go, and I like pocket-sized books because you can bring them with you without needing a bag. Uh, they fit right into your back pocket. So it's like if I'm getting on the train in New York or anywhere there's mass transit, I might be able to just go without a bag. I've got my pocket notebook and I've got my paperback that fits in my back pocket and I'm good to go. I've got something to read and something to write on, and so I'm ready for anything. And that's not to say 6x9 or the bigger formats aren't good or have they're kind of necessary for certain things. The paperback does kind of like limit your page size heavily. So you got to kind of scrunch things in there. But, they cost like 95 cents or something back in the day. Viking Portable, uh, they're cheap, they're mass produced. And so books could sell millions of fucking copies in paper, pocket bound paperback. And you used to find them everywhere. Rimbaud fucking Illuminations, pocket sized paperback. Or Dharma Bums, pocket sized paperback. Catcher in the Rye, pocket sized paperback. All of it. The whole proliferation of literacy, right? If this is something that these celebrities care about, or just writers, this is a big deal because that is an emblem and that is a symbol of mass literacy. But the thing is, you can't have a mass literacy without an audience. If people are not learning how to read, like literally they're not learning the skill. So it's like they're killing the publishing industry. I don't think they want people to be able to read, frankly. They want it to be like an esoteric discipline where it's like only smart people, only rich people can figure out what's really going on and have access to that wisdom. Because books are important in that they do take time. You do have to like think through. That's not to say everything that's published in a book is necessarily some kind of highly cultivated thing. There's a lot of books that are hasty and kind of not necessarily the most fully fleshed out thing, but you have a little bit more chance. It's not like the internet where it's just like now everybody believes any kind of conspiracy, and things are generally vetted a little more before they're published. And so people are not learning how to read. There's no audience to buy books. There goes your consumer base. They no longer have the interest. To be honest, it's like water finds its level. People are going to take the path of least resistance. And so it's like, that's why you kind of got to see the writing on the wall. It's like, I don't necessarily think literary is going to die out entirely, but it's not mass encouraged anymore. They can give you whatever propaganda they want to give you through a screen now. And they probably want to keep it that way. They want to keep you believing anything they want to tell you, conspiracy theories. They don't want you to have any critical thinking skills. And so you're not going to be reading any fucking Dostoevsky anytime soon. Or any Freud or whatever. There's not going to be pocket Freud for you. And I don't know, is it snobby to think that makes you a better person? You know, if you're like literary, if you're well spoken, if you're articulate, does that make you have like does that make you like kinder? Does that make you, I don't know. Generally, right, the smarter college educated people vote for, not for Trump. So people are easier to control. They can't read, they're easier to control. All they fucking do is watch videos, scroll. So I don't know. I'm kind of, it's hard because it's happening. You know, this is not to say that books are going to die out. I don't think that's going to happen, but like they're no longer the titan and the king of the castle. You know, it's like books ruled many centuries. Shakespeare didn't even publish his shit, right? It wasn't written to be like published in a book. He wrote plays, then they were basically lost until the actors reconstructed them from memory, and they published them later. So, you know, there's pluses and minuses to it. Books, there's a little bit of a narcissism and an arrogance and like a high self-estimation to it, particularly now. That's married to like being rich, being privileged. And so, yeah, we want our libraries to be like these fucking public spaces, but it's like, dude, the library, the New York Public Library has like Xbox 360 in it. The New York Public Library has got a flat screen, wall mounted, like giant 96-inch fucking TV in a Xbox 360. You think these kids are going to read? No, they're going to take the path of least resistance, and you can't fight that. It's like the technology's here. Even I watch fucking TikTok all day. Would I like to read? Yeah, but it's generally not, it doesn't compete. It's not as good. Most of these books, to be quite honest, are just not as good. I wish they were. I need 6 or 7 or 8 different books going at once to get the same effect. It's like your poem should have 6 or 7 or 8 different poems going on at once. Like you have tabs open. How else are you going to keep people interested? Okay, so here's a few things I wanted to get to. Now we're getting into the last. I probably will get off around 2 hours maybe. What time is it? 3:30. Okay. Let me just check my social media. Take a little social. Speaking of screen addicts. Okay. Ladies, did you know Epstein is 6 feet tall? Yeah, I know he did like all this horrible shit and like he mutilated children and like kidnapped people and made them as sex slaves and like engineered like geopolitical kind of suffering on a mass scale through like, influencing his powerful friends and stuff. But like he was 6 feet tall. So, kind of sexy, kind of dateable. I mean, he was a billionaire. He was 6 feet. Come on. He had his own island and a jet. Ladies, come on. Maybe he could kidnap, maybe he could kidnap me. Help, help. I'm being kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein. He's 6 feet tall. He has a private jet. He's taking me to his island. Oh, no. Don't kidnap me, Jeffrey Epstein, please. Please don't ravage me. And then pay me off afterwards. 6 feet, ladies. That's all I'm saying. You can forgive a lot. You know, you guy can get away with a lot if they got that 72 inches. Yeah, so we're mourning the death of the mass market paperback, the pocket-sized paperback, which is my whole existence. I mean, this is why I converted to the iPhone shit, iPhone literature. Because this is the pocket-sized paperback. I mean, you have to look at it as an advantage. It's like, yeah, okay, you can't, you know, there's not going to be millions of fucking like objects that are individualized expressions of like a literary work, like albums per se, but like people can access your work instantly from anywhere on the fucking planet. If you tap into the right thing, this could be an unprecedentedly powerful source of literary expression. Even though it's not paper. I mean, is the definition of literature paper? Like litter? Is that what that means? I don't know. But I don't think it's a bad thing that like poets should be live streaming. They should be composing long poems on the internet orally. They should be live streaming their fucking readings. They should be videoing their readings. Poetry doesn't exclusively exist on paper. I mean, paper is an intimate keepsake, and there is a different kind of existence to it. There's a stability to it. It doesn't just disappear. And so I get it. You want both. You want paper and you want plastic. And so I try to utilize all of it. I've got my chapbooks, but I publish my readings on fucking TikTok. Not that anybody likes them. That doesn't matter. Fuck the likes. Fuck the likability, okay? I mean, I just think this is such an incorrect metric. Like, in an economy based on likes, and it's not just an economy at that point. I mean, that shapes our entire how we do things, why we do things. The flow chart of our attention is dictated by how likable something is in somebody's self-conscious choice immediately through, you know, a randomized or algorithmic, which I'm sure is incredibly manipulated and fixed. And so what happens when you're unlikable? Like myself. When you're unlikable, what happens to you in a society based on likes? And in some ways, unlikability is likable. Like if you're stingy and like Trump is unlikable, but that's what people like about him is that he's a dick and he's like a loudmouth about it. That plays well. But like, I don't do anything that's likable. My voice is annoying. My opinions are like insufferable to listen to. That's why I have to chug THC to like. I'm trying to externalize the interior here. That's what writing does. Writing is like a way of externalizing your interior monologue. That's what a novel is in a lot of ways. Some of them, not all, but, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm surprised more writers haven't taken this as like a form to compose, because honestly, that was the breakthrough that I had on Sunday, I would say, is like, even though as a performance it was not what I intended to do at all, I was sort of writing in character on stage. What I was doing was more like a dramatic monologue from like a fucking play. I felt like I was Tennessee Williams up there doing Diamond Dallas Page. And you know, it's lovely to write things on paper and pre-consider them and all that, but like it's also really fun to be in character and kind of just like invent while you're in character. And you can do that alone. You don't always need to be in a scene. You know, you can invent sort of a backstory, a given circumstances through spontaneous um, improvising in character. And so that's sort of what I was doing. It was more like this dense. That's why I was like, this is not good. This is not clowning. I'm like in this dense, like, it's more like writing. I'm like talking about the past of these. I'm not doing, my eyes are closed. I'm kneeling. I'm not moving. I'm like locked in place. It's like, this is so like literary. This is not, this is more like some kind of serious play. This is not clown. Clown is more like kind of, I don't know, playing with the audience and energy and blah blah blah, physicality. Um, so I don't know. I'm an advocate for this. You need both, but writers should try to. I mean, is that the definition of a writer? You write things down, you read it. It's sexier. You know, women dig poetry, and I think maybe now more than ever, poetry is like a glamorous thing. You know, among like hot girl shit, hot girl culture, cool girl. That's part of what's annoying about it. There's almost like this built-in clout. Oh, you're poetry. Oh, you're oh, you're reading poetry. Oh my God! Wow, that's so fancy. That's so elite. So cool. It's so raw. It's so emotional. Uh, so yeah, I feel like the what I do is like unlikable. Not on purpose necessarily. I'm not trying to be unlikable. It just seems that that's people don't love it really always. I mean, not all of it, but you know, I don't always have some kind of like mass enthusiastic response from the audience just for what I'm doing. It's usually like a few people in the crowd like seem to like really appreciate it afterwards, and maybe they'll come up and talk to me. But it's not like everybody. You know, some people are weirded out or want to avoid me, or they did. It just didn't do anything for them. And the internet's like this too. I mean, I don't have a huge viewer. I don't even know who watches this anymore. It might just be me and you at a mess, which is fine with me because that's kind of the point of everything I'm saying is like, I don't know. You got to stick to your guns. Who gives a fuck if anybody likes it? It's just the wrong way to look at it. It sucks that we're forced into this algorithm and you know, we are, oh my God, we are being chosen what we see by these tech assholes. Here we go. Ben Shapiro is waging battle inside the MAGA movement. That's the New Yorker. 45-minute interview with Ben Shapiro. New Yorker's doing the important, hard-hitting reporting. That's what the New Yorker readers are dying to see is a 45-minute interview with Ben Shapiro for some fucking reason. Putting on How Green Is My Valley. See, I've got a movie on in the background here. While I'm streaming, I'm watching a movie. I mean, we are the multitasking generation. You can't do anything without multitasking. It's all about productivity. It's all about open tabs. And at least for millennials, I don't know how it is with Gen Z, but multitasking was a huge deal in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. And productivity, and like you can watch a show while you're working on your homework, while you're doing Adderall, while you're cooking. You're doing all these things at once. And that's how you are a girl boss, is like you're doing all this shit simultaneously and taking care of business. And so my poetry is multitasking. All of my work sort of has a multitasking element to it, and a productivity kind of driven insanity. While I'm talking about women, and maybe this isn't just a women thing, but it's interesting to me the way that women text and like comment on things, the way they type, because they're really, I mean, women are incredibly expressive and specific and like able to come up with like banter very quickly. But like the way that they like emote, remember emojis? People used to use emojis a lot more. I thought emojis and GIFs were going to like replace language. I literally thought everything was going to turn into some kind of hieroglyphic emoji thing. But it's kind of the opposite. People have regressed to the alphabet and letters. But the way that women like try to express their emotion, they'll like repeat a letter like a few times. That's like how they're showing they're like, I'm feeling something. Lotion and I love VVVVE this. But they also capitalize things like this sent me. They'll capitalize like one word or something. You know, that's not something they teach in school. But it's effective for text, I think. I think people should incorporate that more into like poetry, and because it really is, you know, it's hard to show emotion sometimes under the text. And so I actually do think that's like an effective way of emoting through textually. It's sort of like italics. It's sort of like using an exclamation point, I guess. But it's entirely new and novel. I admire that. But I also, as a man, I don't see men doing that really. They're not like, oh, bro. They might say bro, but they're not going to be like, love VVVVE. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. What can I say? So yeah, that was just me more nitpicking the gender differences. I also wanted to talk about, I've been watching all these Robert Caro interviews about LBJ. I don't know how I got on this. When I was editing my vlog last week, I just started putting these on. Because they are almost like ASMR. This one Robert Caro video, it was like Robert Caro ASMR on Book TV. And I was like, he does kind of have an ASMR voice. Robert Caro is a very intriguing, and he's just comprehensive, you know. And so I wanted to hear more about Robert Moses, of course. I wanted to hear him talk about the power broker and this and that. But most of the Robert Caro interviews on YouTube are about LBJ, of course, because he's still working on this book. It's like, I think, what is it, the 6th book, or it's the 4th book? He's literally been working on this book for, I don't even know, 50 years. And there's 3 parts of it already. And it's like or however, I don't even know. It's like Proust. But it's all about LBJ, the years of Lyndon Johnson. And it's like, you know, thousands of fucking pages about Lyndon Johnson, who is somebody that, you know, is not really that talked about anymore, to be honest. You know, you'll hear a lot more about Kennedy or Nixon probably than LBJ. He's sort of like right in there, but he had a big, I mean, this is one reason why Robert Caro is writing about him, is because he had this massive effect on our society. And well, it's interesting to hear Robert Caro talk about why he chooses his subjects, because he really wants to write about power, is what he's saying. Like, this is why he wrote about Robert Moses. This is why he wrote, you know, these are the only two books I think he's ever fucking written. The one about Robert Moses and all these books about Lyndon Johnson, and that's it. And he's like one of the most highly regarded writers in our culture, Robert Caro. And The Power Broker, I've never read it, but, you know, it's supposed to be this masterpiece, and I think it's 800 pages, or it's like Infinite Jest or something. It's just like a huge fucking book. But he does meticulous research, and he has a really comprehensive mind. And so I get the sense that he said something about, he started to write the Robert Moses because he was a reporter for the Long Island, some fucking newspaper. And he started to write the Robert Moses story as like newspaper articles. And he's like, this is not big enough for him. Like, the story's too big. And so he just kept writing and writing and writing about it. And it ended up, the book was 1,000,000 fucking words. And, you know, I think what is important about Robert Caro in the moment we're in as artists technologically is he's writing about real life figures like Lyndon Johnson, like Robert Moses, but he's doing it as if it was a novel. He wants to examine power, all these structures. He's really writing about America, right? That's why his book is called The Years of Lyndon Johnson, because he's writing about the Senate. He's writing about the other personalities in the Senate at the time that Lyndon Johnson dealt with, and all this shit. Texas politics. You know, he's comprehensive, meticulously mapping this whole fucking guy's life, right? It's thousands and thousands of pages about one person. So it really is this kind of unprecedented long-form narrative mini-series about one entity. But it's got all of these other characters, hundreds of other characters that sort of come in and out. Al Smith, when talking about Robert Moses, he's able to talk about New York City, you know, urban renewal. There's tons of shit that he covers within, you know, it's not just like the story of Robert Moses's life. It's about all of these systems, New York politics, state politics, Long Island, the beach. You know, Robert Moses's influences is all over this fucking region. He really is a giant. And he behaved that way. And so, I don't know. I think film and moving into a video world, it kind of, you know, it's more of a documentary style in a way. Autofiction is sort of a documentary style. It's like real people. And so, you know, The Power Broker, this Lyndon Johnson book, it's like they're works of literary fiction, or maybe not fiction, but like they're works of literary, but they have a form that's almost like novelistic, which is fictional. It's informed by that. You know, it's not like dry, it's not factual, it's not a textbook. It has storytelling. I don't know, I haven't read it. To be honest, I've never read anything by Robert Caro, so I don't know anything about his fucking, what the writing is actually like. And maybe he is just kind of this like legacy media grandfathered in, one of the last of the kind of New York literary giants, you know, like he was here when it really was like, he went to Elaine's and shit like that. Uh, but the scope that he writes on, the exhaustive kind of detailing, the documenting of reality through kind of like a fictional form or a more creative, it's like creative nonfiction or something. Uh, Now, there's more kind of hybrid. The technology kind of enables uh, or inspires. The literary forms reflect the new forms that the other technologies enable. In the same way that like photography changed writing. Because photography existed, it changed painting, right? Painting went from being figurative to like abstract. But it also changed writing, because there was photographs that could provide that sort of information. Writing could be more surreal, not coherent, not literate, cut ups, things like Apollinaire, things like the Cubist kind of writings were imitating and sort of going hand in hand with what was happening in painting, which was a reaction to movies, the new century, the world wars. Uh, now that everybody writes autofiction, it does feel like fiction is sort of like going out of existence. It doesn't, I mean, well, I guess there's still fantasy, and that's still a big thing. A lot of people, that's what they read. They do read more like genre fiction, but as far as like literary, that's what's weird about the term literary is like it always was sort of a micro niche. Like for something to be literary, it's like it always kind of implied like it was separate. Like literary fiction is a smaller audience, at least in my lifetime. Theoretically, in the 70 or 100 years ago or 200 years ago, maybe it had more of like a popular hold. Things like J.D. Salinger or Philip Roth or Norman Mailer, I mean, they sold hundreds of thousands, if not millions of books, and were sort of like pop culture uh, icons. I guess that's one thing that if you get rid of the legacy media, if you get rid of the gatekeepers, then like if the public decides and they just decide through like instant gratification likability, it's like there are no literary icons. They don't want to give people the choice. They don't want to read. And I mean, they like maybe Rupi Kaur is like the literary icon, like Instagram poets. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think hot girls want to be smart, and they are smart, but they want to be perceived as smart. The cliche is if you're hot, you're dumb. A lot of hot, successful women have published like essay collections. Imrata has got like an essay collection. It's like, she's smart. Okay, cool. But I don't know. Why is that so important to people? It's like on the one hand, I've been taught my whole life that like everybody's equal. You got to respect everybody equally, treat everybody with kindness. But then it's like we're constantly judging people based on every category: how smart they are, how talented they are, how good looking they are, how they act. Who's hotter, who's Who do you want to be around? It's been 2 hours. What the fuck time is it? Let me see. Is there anything else I needed to talk about? Let me just talk about Robert Caro for just a few more minutes, and then I'll get off. It's 4 o'clock. Yeah, I probably should get off. Fuck. Probably should go outside in the sunshine. It's gotten a little warmer. And so it feels a lot warmer. You know, it's been so freaking cold. I mean, it was literally 0 degrees. And then now it's like 35 degrees. So people are like, whoa, it feels like summertime. Like, does reading make you like a better person? Like, I don't think so. Probably the opposite. But maybe not. I don't know. I don't like when people like brag about how they don't read. What there was this interview with Harmony Korine about he hasn't read a book in decades. All he cares about is like AI art and video games. Also, just like practically speaking, as somebody who owns like literally hundreds, if not thousands of books, I probably have 1,000 books, I would say. I've got shelves and shelves and shelves of the books. And it's really only dawned on me in the past few years that like, well, I mean, particularly the way that they've rearranged our lives economically in the past few years, it's like, that's just not sustainable. Like, I love buying books. There's nothing that I like more than going to like a used bookstore and just like book hunting. That's how I learned everything I fucking know. But now that doesn't feel financially sustainable. Like, it's too expensive to rent any kind of room anywhere. I have no financial stability whatsoever. It's been a long time since I have. And so how can I keep transporting all of these fucking books from one apartment to another that I hardly even read? You know, it's like I hardly even touch the fucking things. Or it's also just like impossible to read all of them. It is sort of like a compensation and some kind of weird addiction that like you're just trying to prove that you're smart or something. Like, look at all these books I have. Like, this is evidence that like I know what I'm talking about. Or I mean, I did use them. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I did look at them. They were important. They are important. And if I could, if I could have a fucking apartment that cost $500 a month for the rest of my life, that fit all the books, like, that would be a different world. But, the circumstances for people now are, it's so expensive to live anywhere. And it's just like, everything's precarious. If something happens to you at work or something, it's like you're no longer going to be able to make your rent. What, I'm going to have to move these books again? I'm going to have to carry boxes and boxes of all these fucking books. I love what they hold. I love having them. I love them as like sacred objects. The Nazis attacked the books too, right? Obviously. This is their way of attacking the books, but people can't hide behind books and act like it makes them better than other people. And if that's all they represent, then, you kind of have to connect person to person before anything else. Books are a refuge for shy people like me, but Uh, it's just the economic war that's waged on us is so rough that it's hard to have the time, the concentration, the feeling that like your feet are stable on stable ground to like work on anything. Or else you got to get a job that is 30 plus hours a week to even like be able to have the time and space. So it's one or the other. In a way, you don't have a choice. It's like now you have to have the job because you can't, there's no way to just skate by anymore. I don't know how they did this. I do think it was like a concerted conspiratorial effort on behalf of all of the owners of everything that they just decided, you know what, we can charge a lot more money for all this shit. No longer are we going to let people have like room that costs $400 a month. Fuck that. I can get $1,200. I'm going to get it. We're raising everything everywhere and everybody. They want to torture us to death. Through work, through overwork, through bad food. Oh yeah, I did want to talk about the loosh farming thing. The archons and the loosh farming. This is something Adam S. brought up. I was only looking at it briefly, but it sounded convincing to me. People should look this up. I don't know if I can say this on the internet, but it's basically what I was saying the other day about how they harvest our suffering. The idea with like this loosh farming is, let's look it up real fast. Loosh farming, a concept popularized by astral traveler Robert Monroe, suggesting that Earth is a farm where non-physical entities harvest emotional energy, loosh, Loosh, specifically fear, pain, and in some interpretations, love, from humans. This theory posits that intense human emotions act as a food source for these controllers who encourage conflict and suffering. This is supposedly why they said, according to the theory, the humans are treated as livestock by higher dimensional beings, with the physical world serving as a controlled environment for producing this energy. I mean, if they look at us literally as livestock, what compunction will they have about using that cattle gun on us or doing anything Epstein did? You know, if Epstein is just looking at these people like they're like just cows, like look at what we do to fucking animals. Just carve them up. I don't know that I should repeat this on the internet, but the theory with the adrenochrome, I just looked into this, okay? Supposedly, and I don't believe this is true, but supposedly Epstein has these dental chairs because it's easier to access the pineal gland through the roof of the mouth. And what they do is they want to create stress in these kids' bloodstream because it creates adrenaline. So that's why they torture them or whatever. And so it creates stress, which causes their adrenaline gland to like fire. And then they harvest the blood and the adrenochrome because like that's like the stress blood. And that's like the stress that fuels them. That fuels their vampiric rituals. I just looked into this. I'm sure all the Pizzagate people knew about this. I don't believe that that's happening, really, but I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, why is there, there does seem to be some kind of radio harvesting of like our pain. Like, why is life this constant prickling of our, and it's just torture. It's just torture. It's physical pain, it's disappointment, it's laughing in your face, kind of jokes on you. You know, not to mention they want to force all of the goy into this life of manual labor for no fucking reason. It's all busy work. It's all painful. Standing on your feet all day, service economy. What is the point of that? Why? Why do they need other people to be suffering, to make it worth their while, to make it, I don't know. It just seems like if there is a simulation or something, or maybe this is just manifestation, maybe this is my own misinterpretation or misprogramming, where it's just like I expect my life to be sort of like some kind of poetic justice near miss or something. Some kind of continuous series of humiliations to keep me humble. Any kind of success, any kind of ego, any kind of like worldly vanity is bad. Everything has to be cut with some kind of like service to other people, physical suffering, chronic pain, long hours, subjugation to other people, constant ego tweaking, hurt feelings, drama, constant drama. Living with Ashley is a constant fucking ego humbling. She's in Miami right now. She went to Miami for Valentine's Day. She's got a real hard life. I'm reading about loosh farming here. They're harvesting our negative vibrations. It's like a dirty energy, like fracking. They're fracking us. I mean, it's crazy. That's one of the big reveals of these Epstein emails to me. Is like the child pedo ring is like that was just their personal little fun party that they were having as a reward for the way that they were actually just like manipulating mass human like behavioral patterns. You know, like I do think that they are engineering disease, they are engineering suffering, they are engineering distraction. They're trying to make it as hard for us as possible. So we stay subordinate. You know, like if you work all the time, if you're in poor health, if you're homeless, you can't fight back, you can't organize. Everybody's distracted by their phones. Everybody's watching wrestling or video games. They're just watching fucking people play video games. It's like, what could be more passive than that? I don't even want to play the fucking video game. So I don't know. How do they get the loosh into the alien power cell? What is loosh? Let's see. Loosh is the psycho-emotional chemical energy that is emitted by beings who are suffering and tormented. It gives those who tap into it an intense erotic high that is extremely addictive. So we're like their drug. Our suffering is like their drug. They get high on our suffering. Now, see, that kind of feels plausible. I mean, if you're a sadist, like Jeffrey Epstein, it's like, these are people that drop nuclear weapons. You know, people that are the heads of state. They start wars. Like George Bush is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of fucking people. 9/11. What kind of people could do 9/11? Like, if they could commit 9/11, torturing some children, that's just how they, like, pregame. That's how they, like, practice. That's how they build up their tolerance to do 9/11. That's like a little proxy scrimmage. That's like an emotional scrimmage to like do big wars and shit. So, I mean, for people that have everything, maybe they do get some kind of weird erotic high on making people unhappy, making people suffer, torturing people, forcing people to do shit against their will. There are more commonplace examples of louche that we see every day. The terror of war, the desire to slow down and look at a car wreck, the addictive pleasures of porn, the thrill of a horror flick, even the constant nagging worry over unpaid bills and deadlines. These are all ways in which the common people get seduced by the dark energy of louche. Earth is a louche factory. Okay, I probably can't read this on the internet. It's gonna shadow ban me for telling the truth about louche. Certain entities feed or collect on our drama, pain, love, duality. Suffering and ecstasy are both valuable, not in a sacred way, but a harvested, exploited way. Louche is the emotional energy output humans generate during heightened states such as fear, conflict, suffering, or even joy. It is coded frequency. The simulation is programmed to thrive on louche. It's like the Bitcoin of the alien realm. Hardship, trauma, chaos are algorithmic loops designed to keep louche production steady. Every spike of emotion uploads into the mainframe, powering the architecture of this reality. Uh-oh. That sounds kind of convincing. Well, a lot of these conspiracy theories, it's like people will believe anything if it's like, well, there's a picture of a dentist chair on Epstein's Island. He must have been torturing children. He's got a fucking dentist chair. Why else would he have that? He has it to fucking take their adrenochrome out, clearly. Like, people are more likely to believe, like, the ghost story. They're more likely to believe in Slender Man. They're more likely to believe the moon landing was faked by Kubrick and he got killed for Eyes Wide Shut. And, but this louche thing, why else is there hardship, trauma, chaos? It's all evolutionary. It's all just how we survive, I guess. You know, like, these are just part of life. Are we programmed to be like in a hyper-vigilant, neurotic, anxious, kind of nervous state at all times? And so our reactions are, I mean, I would say I was pretty protected as a child. I was kind of overprotected in a way. I think this is one reason why my nervous system is like attacks itself, because it's like, and why I'm afraid of a lot of stuff. Why I'm kind of not the most courageous person. Because I was taught to like be careful about every goddamn thing. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm just a pussy. Hardship, trauma, chaos are algorithmic loops designed. Like, could we live in a world without all that stuff? I don't know. Like, it's not necessarily intentional, per se. Reality is not on purpose, even. Like, the whole circumstances of how we exist, what it takes to exist, the fact that it's not easy to exist. It's not like some plan. It doesn't, you know, people want to believe it's like a simulation or somebody's like forcing us into this, but it's like nature is this kind of like brutal contest of dog eat dog. and survival is not guaranteed. You know, for as bad as Epstein is, you know, it's like, I'm sure there are examples in the animal kingdom of shit that's just as bad. It's a brutal world full of violence and death. And things kind of have to die to let the other things live. That's built into it. Is it part of some plan? Part of it is just how evolution occurred. Like, there is a battle to what survives genetically. Like, certain things die that, you know, it's like, maybe that is like some kind of, there was some ingredients and some kind of, that was some kind of setup. Maybe genetics are some kind of like ingredients for the development of more and more sophisticated, you know, like I was thinking about this recently, ATGC, right? Everything is ATGC. Those are the 4 proteins that are in all of like the fucking chromosomes or ribosomatic sequences or whatever. I don't know exactly. I sort of was half paying attention. ATGC. There was something about it that I was going to say that was really profound. That's all it is, you know, and it sort of comes up in these certain combos. And is that like some kind of like sea monkeys from God? It's like some kind of play set. You just add water and bam. Millions of years later, you have human beings. You have Trump. I mean, life could be more fair. That's the frustrating part, is human beings, with all that we've achieved, with the abundance that we've achieved, there could be a more equitable, comfortable society for everybody. And yet, what the Epstein files reveal is there is like a small cabal of people that like have massive, massive, massive influence and are somewhat intent on hurting us into certain behavior patterns. They want, you know, Les Wexner wants people to keep going to the mall. He wants people to keep feeding into his empire. He wants people to obsolete their bra wardrobe every 3 months. She's got to come back and buy a whole new fucking wardrobe every year because that's our business model. So we need to do whatever we need to do to these human beings to keep them in this behavior pattern. I think that was happening on a massive fucking scale. Maybe that's the way society had to organize itself, or just did organize itself with the previous technologies. But now we live in a world, right, where everybody has a platform, everybody has a voice, everybody's sort of an equal social media network, social media creator, brand, TV show, everything. Small business. And so we expose things like Epstein. We are exposing. It's amazing what's happening in Europe, to be honest. They actually are holding people accountable. It's unbelievable, actually. You know, after everything we've seen in this country for the last 10 years, where Trump just gets away with every fucking thing, including January 6th, nobody takes anything seriously. You know, there's no integrity. This is part of the reason why comedy sucks. Because everybody just thinks everything's a joke. Nobody fights for anything. Nobody has any integrity. Nobody has any, like, self-respect. People are just January 6th was just like a big joke. Oh, it wasn't a big deal. Pardon all of them. We don't care. They didn't do anything wrong. They're patriots. And Trump put them back in the White House. No big deal. What did he do? Nothing really. He may or may not have anything to do with January. You know, he wasn't really involved with January 6th, really. Not that much. Whereas, like, in Europe, it's like anybody that's in these Epstein files is actually seeing consequences. It's insane. This is how, like, brainwashed and, like, retarded Americans are. I hate to say it, but you know, Trump has just, like, total impunity, really. And so it's almost, like, shocking. Like, what? They're actually, you know, punishing the fucking people in the Epstein files? Like, Jesus Christ. Let's get a little bit of that here. Let's get some, like, serious... You know, it's like not all regulations are bad. Not all litigation is bad. Like, these people need to see consequences. There are reasons why there are fucking laws against a lot of this type of shit. A lot of this shady shit that Trump engages in, crypto or whatever the hell it is. The way he comports his fucking wars or whatever he's doing. He doesn't really pay attention to the finer points of the legality of anything. Okay, well, anyway, we all know it's a dystopian fucking nightmare. Thank you for watching. Who knows when I'll be back on. It's pretty warm out, so I'm actually going to try to go do stuff for a change. I don't have any friends. You know, I haven't had any friends since, like, 2017. You know, I was in a relationship, then the pandemic, then I got in another relationship. So it's like, now I've got all these Friday nights, like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know anybody. There's no open mics anywhere. So I just live stream. Trying to correct all the ills. Trying to fix everything. But any case, people are waking up. They're waking up to the pizza and the grape juice and the dentist chair. I don't, you know, that's what I'm saying. Is people are jumping to conclusions. Just because he had a fucking dentist chair, like, doesn't... Like, I heard this thing about Antarctica. If you go to Antarctica, you have to have your wisdom teeth pulled. Because it's like, if they start to erupt there or whatever, it's like you're just fucked. There's no way to help you. And you know, you could die or something, as theoretically, maybe. And so, who knows? Maybe Epstein had a dental chair. I think he's, you know, he was putting a lot of these chicks through dental school. And so, you know, maybe he had dental... It is an island. Like, if you need some dental work real fast. The masks on the wall are a little fucking creepy. I don't know what that's all about. You know, Bill Clinton needs some dental work, though. Get one of these 23-year-old Belarusian chicks to fucking work on Slick Willie. Well, that's another creepy aspect of all of this. Is, like, it's revealed, like, he has all these weird relationships at all these different colleges. Like, he donates all this money. I think they said Columbia, Bard, Harvard, obviously. I think they said NYU. There's, like, buildings named after him. This place in Michigan, I'd never heard of this before. Interlochen. I don't know if people know about it, but it's like an arts school or something. I think it's a art school for high schoolers or something. It's like a boarding school, but, like, for the arts. And I guess it's pretty prestigious, but I'd never heard of it. But it's like teenagers. It's a fucking high school. And Epstein has donated a bunch of money, and I guess he's got a cabin there or something that's, like, named after him. And he goes there for, like, 2 weeks a year to just sort of, like, scout the teenage girls. That's what he's doing at these colleges. You know, when he's offering his helicopter, you know, or he's giving money to some dental students, or He's taking an interest. They said he would hang out at New York Art Academy. Him and Ghislaine would hang out at New York Art Academy, just like scoping out the chicks who are like students there. It's like, it's amazing how fucking wide-ranging and like systematic this guy's like assembly line is of and that's not on, like, look at the fucking Ohio State wrestling thing. That was also like a machine. Or Sandusky, right? That happened for decades. Joe Paterno knew about it. Sandusky kind of looks like Epstein. They kind of have a similar, what's Sandusky's vibe? They kind of have a similar vibe to me. Jerry Sandusky and Epstein. But it's just, a lot of times it's just like they have these huge operations with like hundreds of victims. It's fucking insane. And this guy was literally, because he had money, he could get away with anything. Because he's a billionaire and he throws money at these schools. It's just like they look the other way. And his vibe is probably, what was it? There was somebody in the emails that talked about some celebrity. Jeffrey Epstein told this celebrity that he was like not interested at all. And so she became like obsessed with him. Somebody sent me an email, oh my God, she's obsessed with you. Because like, yeah, because he's raping fucking teenagers all day. He just takes everything he wants. He's a billionaire. And so I do think that there's some truth that like these people organized our society to their benefit. This is why there's so much discourse about there's no ethical billionaire. Because it's just they hoard all of the value that's created in a way that's just not really accurate. Everybody has a part in the value creation and people are not being compensated. There's a lot of extraction that's happening everywhere. A lot of wealth is being extracted from the lower classes by the billionaires and people like Epstein and his friends. They were coordinating it with each other at their little power lunches and dinners and fucking pizza parties and on the Lolita Express and shit. They're sitting around talking about how to control society and what little and in that sense they are sort of like intelligence operatives. I do think Epstein was some kind of fucking for hire intelligence honeypot whatever. And so, we're supposed to be on the precipice of like all this astrological shit, but there's some thing that's lining up that hasn't lined up since like 1054 or something, which was like right before the Great Schism. So they're saying that there's going to be like some kind of collapse of all of our like systems of belief. Basically all the institutions and things. So hopefully that will mean more good than bad. Hopefully that will mean the billionaires and the people that exploit the rest of us, the tech assholes, the Peter Thiels, the Elon Musks, see a loss of power. And we see more of an incorporation of plurality in everybody's point of view and everybody's consideration. We do need like a socialism. We need a universal basic income. We need, with the coming AI great replacement of human labor, there just needs to be a shifting of values. Society needs to snap out of this belief in private fortunes of the individual and billionaires and super capitalist success stories, private jets, super yachts, private islands. This is out of fucking control, and it's so stupid and unnecessary. Like, we know this, we realize this. If we can just, we all know there needs to be like a French Revolution type thing. Everybody, if we can just unite. And the Epstein thing, even if it is sort of like an urban legend or something, if it's really about sort of dismantling this secret cabal of world leaders who sort of herd us like cattle behaviorally, psychologically, to keep us as consumer worker bees for their private wealth, which is what Wexner does and what fucking all of these CEOs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, we're all just here to make them money. And fuck all that. You know, we have the tools to have an abundance for everyone. Everyone should be able to afford a fucking, like Mamdani. There should be studios for artists. There should be food for everybody. Place to live. We shouldn't get jacked on our fucking rent. We shouldn't be able to, you know, there needs to be some kind of retribution for all of the financial exploitation that's happened in the last 5 years. The way everybody's rent's been jacked completely out of proportion in everything. Inflation on everything, deterioration of food, everything is slop, bowl slop, like no more. This has got to stop. McDonald's got to lower their prices. I'm sorry, nobody's paying $15 for an extra value meal. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, this, it's just, we know that it's not necessary. We lived most of our lives in like an affordable landscape. And now it's just like we are being bilked every fucking, and then some. And so some billionaires can get rich and some stockholders can get richer so they can do stock buybacks. It's like, no, not anymore. This is over. Power to the people. We have the internet in our hands. We're influencers, okay? There can be a mutual aid community amongst the world at large. It's achievable, and people can share. There can be community ownership of things, and rent control, and long-term stable fucking housing for people. All right, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We'll be back on soon. You know me. I'm always cranking out mediocre content. Look for more YouTube shorts. Look for more recycled, half-baked moments from the live stream. Pop up in my YouTube shorts. They're very hit or miss, so. But, you know, I'm a quantity guy. It's all about quantity. Quantity, not quality, everybody. Thank you for watching. Here's a little sunshine.